as I understand it, you're mostly in agreement. You see no amnesty.
No amnesty. That's right.
People need to return to their native countries to go through the process legally.
Yeah, I want people to come into the country legally rather than illegally, and to do that legally, they need to apply from their country of origin.
No staying here, working, paying a fine.
No.
And you both oppose the birthright citizenship.
Yes.
And how is that a constitutional, the 14th Amendment says?
Yes. Well, I should clarify. I would restrict birthright citizenship to persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States at the time of their birth. Consistent with that theme, I would support H.R. 1868, which is a proposal to limit birthright citizenship to those born in the United States who, at the time of their birth, have at least one parent who was either a citizen or a lawful permanent resident or an alien engaged in full-time military service in the United States.
And the Supreme Court's ruled on several occasions that if they're domiciled here, if they're engaged in business, if they have family here, that's subject to the laws of the United States. You disagree with that?
There's certainly dicta supporting that. We don't have any on-point decision addressing legislation like the one I'm describing and saying that would not be acceptable. And so I think it's certainly an open question.
Okay. On immigration policy generally, the Catholic Church, the LDS Church, others have said that the main focus needs to be that it needs to be humane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your policy is humane?
Yes.
Do you think could you look a family in the eye and somebody who's being deported at the time and say, this is my policy, but this is a humane policy?
Well, the fact that you might have circumstances where people are uncomfortable, where it brings about some really difficult circumstances for a family, doesn't mean that it's not a humane law. When we have immigration laws and we enforce them effectively and across the board, I think it protects immigrants. It protects them from being exploited. It protects them from being abused as workers. You see with some regularity illegal aliens being brought in, being mistreated and abused and exploited. And a lot of them don't dare to report crimes because they live under this constant fear of being reported. And so, when we follow our immigration laws, I think everyone benefits.
You both talked about not providing incentives for people to come here. And that is, making sure they don't have jobs and making sure that they don't have birthright citizenship as an incentive, the welfare, programs or citizen incentive. Ultimately, isn't it jobs that they come here for? I mean, they come here to work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you support then a national sort of E-Verify program that would include penalties for workers or employers who hire illegal? And what should those penalties be?
Yeah, we already have really substantial penalties under federal law. They're just not enforced as routinely as I think they could be or should be. And if we enforce them more routinely, I think those jobs would dry up, and there would be a lot of people who would just self-deport. Because when people come here, they're coming here for a job. They're not coming here illegally with all the risks that go along with it, with the language barrier, with the difficulties of moving sometimes great distances, just for the fun of it. They're coming here for a job.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have at this point a national electronic verification system.
Well, we have E-Verify, but I think what you're asking is, should they be compelled to use E-Verify? Right. E-Verify wasn't set up as something that everyone would be compelled to use. It's something employers can use, and they're encouraged to use it, so as to verify the documentation provided to them. So I think it would be a good idea for all of them to use it. We have on the books right now a requirement that when you hire an employee, you have to fill out the I-9. The employer needs to look at the documents that say, I think you have to provide either an original Social Security card plus a birth certificate or a U.S. passport. The employer has to look at those and say, I've reviewed them, they appear to be legitimate. So I guess maybe your question is, should they be required to check it on E-Verify?
Yeah. And should there be penalties for that?
For not checking on E-Verify? I think that's where we'll ultimately end up. I hesitate to say that we we've got to make that a mandatory requirement right now, simply because it's one more thing we're adding to the things that we're making employers do. And that seems like one additional step we're having